It's all about me.
This is the Dan Patrick Show podcast.
There is more where that came from.
Click back for new episodes all week long.
Back to the Mercedes Man Cave.
Look out,
Here's Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Opening round, U.S. Open. First matches of the World Cup as well. We had our U.S. Open draft, and there's already buyer's remorse. There was a trade already. We let McLovin out of purgatory. Jordan Spieth. Who would have thought you'd trade Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy for Matt Kuchar before noon Eastern on Thursday?
It was a bold move for my franchise. It was one we felt we had to take.
Yeah, and you did. All right, phone calls coming up, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. We'll check in with, I think, Sam Amick of USA Today, the NBA insider, was the first to break the LeBron broke his hand story. Is that right, McLovin?
Yeah, we're going to ask Sam exactly the timing, but he had it, I believe he had it before anyone. So, but it's confusing to say he broke the story, not the hand, I think.
He broke the story on the possible broken hand.
I think so. I'm not sure of the timing, how it went with LeBron, because LeBron came out after the game and said, it's happening. I think Amick had it before, but we'll double check.
And, he'll have some thoughts here on free agency, but also the NBA draft is coming up. And, you start to look at these prospects, and sometimes you can overthink this. I don't know if you guys saw this story. And they're piling on a little bit with Brian Colangelo in Philadelphia. Now, the story comes out that it was Brian Colangelo, the 76ers president GM, who he wanted Markelle Fultz. I think he basically outruled everybody else. He forced the 76ers to take Markelle Fultz. So they had the trade, they moved up, they took Markelle Fultz, and here we are, shifting the blame on him. If Brian Colangelo is still in Philadelphia, do you think that this story comes out? So according to sources, here you go. This is the Ringer, Ringer.com's Kevin O'Connor. It was a decision praised at the time, but after Fultz struggled in his workout with the Sixers last June, league sources say some Sixers front office members suggested that despite making the trade, the team should have taken a second look at Tatum or Lonzo Ball, but the idea was shot down by Colangelo, according to sources. Wow. All right. Out the door, but now that you're out the door, we can have sources come forward, probably somebody who's in the front office to say, hey, man, we didn't want Markelle Fultz. This isn't on us. This is on Brian Colangelo. We don't want this on our resume there, that Brian Colangelo blamed for Markelle Fultz. I mean, I'm not surprised that he's the one who had the final say on this. I was a little bit surprised that the story came out after the fact. Here's another thing. When I look at these draft prospects, you would think, somebody is the ACC Player of the Year, all right? Marvin Bagley Jr. III, ACC Player of the Year, Duke. And maybe that's a negative that he did well at Duke, but no injuries. He plays, three. He can play on the perimeter. He can shoot. Seems to have some good mobility, offensive moves. It feels like he has the fewest question marks. We love the unknown, Luka Doncic. All we're seeing is YouTube highlights. Michael Porter played 30 minutes, I think, maybe 50 minutes in his entire college career. And I just saw where he could be moving up to number 2 in the draft, Sacramento Kings, with Michael Porter Jr. III. And you start to outthink yourself with this. Is Trae Young going to translate into the next Steph Curry? Even if he's a watered-down Steph Curry. Is that still pretty good? Yeah. He's not the next Steph Curry, in my opinion. But, here's a guy who has better ball handling skills, passing skills than Steph had coming out of college. He does have range. I just don't think he's the consistent shooter that Steph was in college and then has certainly proven to be in the NBA. But you're looking at some of these guys, and there's going to be probably, everybody's looking now for the next Donovan Mitchell. It used to be the Draymond Green. Now they're looking for, hey, can we get somebody like 13 or 14 or 15? Because before Draymond, you had Kawhi Leonard. We're sort of looking for that guy in the 13 to 18 to 20 range. Or, maybe you're looking at, hey, can we get a Kyle Kuzma? These guys up top have to stick. They have to be able to make an impact. They have to be able to play right away. It's when you have that pick a little bit later on, outside of the lottery, that's where you're going to take a chance on somebody. But the fact that Michael Porter Jr. III is going from 50 minutes in his career to maybe the second pick overall and got a bad back, or at least he's had a bad back. And you're really basing this off what he did in high school. I don't think there's anything you saw at Missouri where you go, yep, that guy right there. That 5 minutes that he had in the tournament, awesome. Probably not enough. Now, if you put together a YouTube highlight package and you had that, then maybe you'd go, boy, that guy's pretty good. But if you watched a game, is he one of those guys that you're going to say, that's the face of my franchise? Because if you're taking him number 2 overall by Sacramento, then you're saying this is our guy. And, man, there's a lot of question marks attached to that. Where, DeAndre Ayton, appears to have all of the things that you want in a big guy. Is Phoenix going to lock in on him? And then you're going to have guys who are going to fall. And it could be this Luka Doncic. He could be the guy who falls. If Phoenix doesn't take him and his former coach is coaching Phoenix, then he might drop a little bit. Because there's going to be somebody who's fallen. There's going to be somebody who's just sitting there at the table and they're not calling his name. Yeah, McLovin.
I look at these mock drafts, and the 7-footers at the top confuses me because the NBA, I watch the playoffs, and there's barely ever 7-footers on the court. It seems like if you can't hit the 3, like your guy Jaren Jackson, then you're not going to be on the court in when it comes down to crunch time because the game moves so fast up and down. So why is DeAndre Ayton in today's game? That's what why? I mean, don't you need playmakers like 6'5" guys?
He's a guy who can play both ends. I know that they talk about, does he play good enough defense? We always look at the negative. Instead of looking at, what do you do for me? It's always, this is what you don't do. And I think that's where these general managers talk themselves into bad draft picks. Instead of saying, we're going to use him on the offensive end. He's going to be a guy that we can use as a 4 or a 5. Does he have the ability? He's got a nice looking shot. He's got touch. And Kevin Durant proved you don't shoot 3. Mid-range jumper, it still has a place in today's NBA.
But who's he going to cover on the Warriors? Like, which player? He can't go out with Durant. He can't cover the guards. Draymond will take him outside.
It'll be Draymond Green.
It's going to be tough for him.
Okay, who's guarding him on Golden State?
The game moves too fast. Nobody,
what does that mean?
The 7-footers are irrelevant.
So when he goes to the other end, the game moves so fast that you don't have to guard him?
Yes, you want to shoot in the first 10 seconds of your clock. Yeah, I feel like that low post presence, unless he could come outside, which, some of these guys look like they can do, like Embiid.
We're going to eventually get back to a guy who is in the post who's unstoppable. Yeah. And we're eventually, it feels like it's cyclical here. We're going to eventually get to that point where you go, just throw it into him and nobody can guard him. Now, I know it's not today's NBA, but eventually we're going to go, okay, now what's next? What's the next offense that we got to be prepared for? If I have somebody that what would you do with Shaq nowadays? So today's NBA, when he can't shoot the 3, but he would be unstoppable down low. Plus, I stretch out the floor. I give him more space and less chance for you to double team him. How would you cover David Robinson today? What would Kareem do in today's NBA? Like, you're going to say, Kareem, the sky hook's kind of nice, but can you take it out to 3-point range? I would go, okay, you're going to shoot the 3. You're going to live and die by the 3. I'm going to take advantage of you down low. I would have to utilize Kareem, for his greatness there. I wouldn't go, he's got to change here. Yeah, McLovin.
It sounds a little bit like using the run game effectively in the NFL, like cyclical, because everyone's gearing up for the pass, so then you hit him with the run. So everyone's gearing up for the 3-pointer.
And that's what is going to happen in the NFL. I do think that the running game, because everybody's going to be geared with like smaller, leaner, faster players on defense to stay with these spread offenses. And if I have a running attack, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I think that you're going to have teams, look at New Orleans. They went from, one of the greatest passers in history to a running game. And then they complement the running game with Drew Brees. Who would have thought that? Yeah, Paul.
It's interesting, though, the 7-footers taken lately in the top 10 picks of the draft are European guys who could shoot the 3. Lauri Markkanen was the only 7-footer of the top 9 picks of the draft last year, and he led all the rookies in 3s. And then a couple years ago, Porzingis, even though he's 7'3", he's a small forward basically in the league. He shoots 3s well.
Yeah. That's why I like Jaren Jackson Jr. I think that he has that ability to be able to stretch inside, outside. And I think, he's a guy who could, start right away. I don't know if he's going to be great, but I like him out of all of these guys. There's a lot of talent in here, but I don't know if you're going to have somebody that you go, we're going to look back on this draft and go, that guy. But Bagley, to me, it feels like he checks the boxes for everything that you want. Maybe he's not a great defender, but he comes in right away and he's able to help you offensively. Yeah, McLevin.
As you mentioned, the YouTube clip of Michael Porter, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy moves and runs like he's 6'2".
There aren't many bad YouTube packages that are put together. Just saying. When's the last time you went, man, look at this guy? Unless I put my high school, highlights up there and you go, wow, what, that's not very good. Most of these are pretty good. You can make them look pretty good.
Won't be a lot of defense on that reel, I imagine.
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to play defense to be able to stay in the lineup in high school. So I played defense to the best of my ability. Yes, Paul.
Did you cherry pick the passing lanes to try to get a quick break?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. No doubt about it. Get me out on the break. Let me go. Hair blowing in the breeze, parted down the middle, let it fly. Pimpled face, Danny. I'd comb my hair before the game.
You didn't have a pocket on the back of your
I did
basketball
not
shorts
have
where you kept your comb.
my comb. Yeah, I had a comb in my my sock.
Your tough skins.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Outside,
Yep,
man.
that's me.
It's great.
Thank God I kept that article.
It wasn't Mr. D. Mr.
No, it was not.
Lockdown.
No, it was Mr. O.
Mr. Outside.
Mr.
Automatic.
Outside. Yeah. The only way to stop him, the handgun, and league rules frowned upon that. One of the greatest lines ever written.
That's might be my favorite day of the show in the 10 years we've been doing this.
That I sent you the article?
Yeah, when you actually found the article.
My
that
mom
said those
saved
words.
it. Because I'd been telling these guys, this guy Joe Henderson wrote this. And, they're like, yeah, okay, here we go. Another one of Dan's stories. And then I found it. I went, oh, my God. Got my phone out, took the picture, and Seton goes, oh, my God, this is the best.
Just about drove off the road.
This is the best.
Fell over.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let me see. Dave in Iowa joins us. Hi, Dave. What do you have for me this morning?
Well, hey, I got a good second place. Well, my original one was Chris Webber in the timeout game, partially because I can't even remember who actually won that game.
North Carolina did.
Okay, but the other one is, well, why can't Dan and the Danettes? You guys have been the best second place to Bob Costas for quite a while now.
Yeah, and the baseball MLB tonight, we lost to them as well with the team sports Emmy. Thank you, Dave, reminding us of painful memories. Jim in Arizona joins us. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Dan.
Hi, Jim.
6'2" and a top-heavy 260.
All right.
A couple of them for me. The one I remember the most was the Patriots losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl. That one was the first time. That was tough. That undefeated team going in and losing that. I was at that game in Arizona, and that's the one I remember the most.
Okay.
The other one that's most recent is your Golden Knights. It's a pretty good runner-up story, got to admit.
Yeah, but I don't think this is one of those, and thanks for the phone call, Jim, where we look back and go, yeah, remember Vegas Golden Knights, they lost the Stanley Cup? Who beat them? We're going to remember the Washington Capitals winning this, because both were great stories. But the Knights didn't play well in the Stanley Cup final. It wasn't like a knockdown, drag-out fight here. The better team won. Aaron in Minneapolis before we take a break. Hi, Aaron. What do you have for me?
Dan, hello.
Hi, Aaron.
5'11", 240. My up story that came to mind, I believe it's 07, maybe 08, Yankee Stadium, Josh Hamilton with his 80-year-old Legion coach throwing BP. Dude hits like 25 in the second round, nearly jacking him out of Yankee Stadium. Somehow or another, Justin Morneau takes the hardware because Hamilton runs out of gas. They should have handed that right over to Hamilton, man. Back row, what up?
Thank you, Aaron. It is a good point with that home run derby. I always maintained it should be the number of home runs you hit. Like they should have a total here, because all of a sudden you're watching Josh Hamilton just launch bombs there and not conserving his energy. And then, I didn't even remember that Justin Morneau won the home run derby that year. I don't even remember. But I remember Hamilton just killing it. And all of a sudden, you don't realize all that energy because you're not trying to just hit it 334 feet. You're trying to hit it 534 feet. And Josh Hamilton got there, and all of a sudden he ran out of gas. All right, when we come back, one of the great NBA insiders, Sam Amick of USA Today, will join us, talk a little free agency there. I was told yesterday there is truth to the rumors about Gronk and the Patriots trying to trade for him. Mike Florio had this and followed up with somebody, and I said, do you know anything about this? And my source said, yeah, that heard the same thing. And this is somebody who, on the inside, should know these things and said, yeah, absolutely. And then threw it out. He heard from two different people. So my source had two sources who said that the Patriots wanted to move up to take Baker Mayfield Jr. III. How about that one? Whether it's true or not, because now you got Robert Kraft saying that's hogwash. And so, I mean, why would they say this is so patriotic? This is what they do. They trade you. This is a guy they weren't sure was coming back. He wants a new contract here. This is when they get rid of you. Hey, thanks for what you've done, Gronk. Now we're going to trade you to Tennessee. Tennessee. But, I was told that yesterday. So Florio had that on Pro Football Talk about Gronk, and they were trying to move him 3 days before the draft. And then when you throw in the Baker Mayfield Jr. III, I thought, wow, you imagine if that happened, how big that story would be. And then there was a report that maybe it was Brady who was going to retire if they traded Gronk. Whether it's true or not, these are reports, certainly with what Florio had and what I followed up with yesterday. All right, well, whoa, what's going on here, Paul?
Dan, we have our World Cup pool?
Yes.
Russia, 1-0 over Saudi Arabia in the 11th minute. They're up early.
Thank you.
Back to you.
All right. Russia, one of my picks here. They were my last pick. That damn snake draft. The Vuvuzelias.
Is that our World Cup update sound? Are we going to do that?
Remember how painful that was?
Is this still a thing?
I think they came up with a different version of the Vuvuzelias. I think Russia has their own version of it, like a 2.0 Vuvuzelia that could be even more annoying.
It can't be more annoying than that.
No, I think they came up with something more annoying than that. All right, we'll take a break. 19 after the hour. We're back after this on the Dan Patrick Show.
These days, news travels lightning fast, which is great if you're a sports fan. Between status updates, breaking news notifications, and Twitter feeds, you can always be up to the minute on every team and every game. And while this is great for sports fans, it's the opposite when it comes to buying a car. Go online and you're bombarded with numbers, invoice, list price, dealer price. It's hard to know or even recognize a good price. But not anymore. Introducing True Price from TrueCar. It's the only price you need to know because it's exactly what you'll pay for the car you want, including fees and accessories. How do you know if True Price is a great price? Because TrueCar shows you what other people paid for that same car you want, so you know how to recognize a good price. And your certified dealers know this. They set their true price competitively so they can win your business. So when you're ready to buy a new car or a used car, visit TrueCar and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. So stop being bombarded with all of these numbers online. Get the only number you need to know with True Price from TrueCar. Some features not available in all states.
Last week on the Dan Patrick Show, we were all talking about how much we loved pro wrestling when we were growing up, and it's still great. I have great news for you now. Now, WWE is streaming online. WWE Network, it's an online video streaming service where you can stream every WWE pay-per-view live, watch more than 10,000 hours of video on demand, get a look behind the scenes with WWE's groundbreaking original series and documentaries, access anywhere. Now through June 18th, a special offer just for our listeners. New subscribers get a 2-month free trial when they can sign up for WWE Network at wwenetwork.com/Dan. It's a 2-month free trial. It includes the following pay-per-views. Money in the Bank this Sunday, an opportunity for WWE Championship hangs over the ring as 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, plus Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. Also, Extreme Rules on July 15th. For one night only, WWE throws the rulebook out the window. Go to wwenetwork.com/Dan to start your 2-month free trial. That's wwenetwork.com/Dan.
The 118th U.S. Open begins Thursday, June 14th, and BetDSI is the place to wager on it. Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth, Phil Mickelson, defending champ Brooks Koepka, and more will be competing at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club for the right to call themselves the U.S. Open champ. Also, World Cup action begins this week in Russia and will run all the way through mid-July. Head to BetDSI to wager on individual matches, futures, and props. The entire world will be watching, so why not wager on it? BetDSI.com has over 20 years in the business, top rated, and is safe. Check out BetDSI.com and check out this offer. BetDSI is offering up to $2,500 free on your first deposit. Use promo code DAN25. That's DAN25 to claim this limited time offer. BetDSI has great customer service, fast, easy payment of winnings, hundreds of wagers on NBA, NHL, PGA, boxing, NASCAR, F1, UFC, the list goes on. BetDSI even has live in-game wagering on all major sporting events. You can play virtually every sport on BetDSI. So use DAN25 and try BetDSI.com now. That's BetDSI.com. Go there now.
Got a stat of the day coming up. Also got a tweet. Haven't heard much from Kyrie Irving lately. It's as if he fell off the face of the earth. Thank you. McLovin, update the poll results. In fact, I forgot what the poll question was in the first place.
So do I, but I can tell you that so far the sales on Uncle Drew are flat.
Oh, I see what you
did.
But
no, if you had a magic wand and you could make anyone for their career non-injured, who would it be? Bo Jackson is first by a long stretch, but then you go Tiger, Bill Walton, Grant Hill. A lot of people want to see Grant Hill.
All right. Give me some stat of the day music there, and then we'll get to Sam Amick of USA Today.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
No players ever won a PGA Tour event the week before the U.S. Open, then gone on to win the U.S. Open. Only 4 times in the last 40 years has a player won any major the week after winning a PGA Tour event. Dustin Johnson, your winner last week at the St. Jude Classic. FYI.
Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Start of the day! Here comes the start of the day!
Stat of the day brought to you by the great folks at Continental Tire. They want you to arrive to the game safely, so they remind you, take 5 minutes at the beginning of every month. Check the tire pressure. Continental Tire. Continental Tire for what you do. Continental Tire, proud supporter of the Dan Patrick Show. Sam Amick. Sam, will you clear that up for me?
Dan, no worries. It's Amick, as my Uncle John used to say. It's long A Amick is how we do it.
Yeah, because then if you were Amick, you'd just be Samick.
Well, yeah, it does. It gets tricky, and then if you try to say them together, it's Sam Amick. So you got to have the sharp left turn. Amick. Right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, Sam, that's it. That's all I wanted to ask you about. So thanks for joining us. Did you break the story about LeBron James breaking his hand?
I did, yeah. I mean, it was one of the more memorable post-game scenes, with that obviously playing a big part. We were scrambling, figuring out where the Warriors were going to be celebrating and checking out that scene, and then word started to spread that LeBron was dealing with something. What's fascinating about the whole thing for me is just that I don't think the general, kind of the average fan, was cognizant of the timeline when it comes to when the news got out in relation to when LeBron decided to put a soft cast on his hand. And so it was, the whole thing was it was a trip. I mean, it was, I think, a tough look for LeBron. I think he ends up looking like he's trying to provide cover for himself. But yes, to answer your question, that was the case.
And Golden State, it came out after the finals that they were aware that he had done something to his hand. Is that correct?
That part I don't know. I mean, if that's been reported, that wouldn't surprise me, especially since on the Cavs side, what I learned after the fact was that it was pretty surprising that it hadn't come out earlier, because everybody on the team knew. I had, and this is a weird thing I don't typically do as far as like sharing where you first found out about stuff, but I thought it was fair to LeBron's camp and I have, shared the fact that it did not originate from his people. This was not a case of, the second the buzzer sounded, his people running around saying, hey, guess what? This wasn't the real LeBron. That's just not how it happened. But I do think it was fairly widely known in the locker room circles.
Was it broken or badly sprained?
So, I mean, it's described to me as a deep bone contusion that, the non-doctors in the group who I spoke with, they, a little bit like LeBron, where they essentially say it was basically broken, but that's obviously a pretty non-scientific way of looking at it. I know the first MRI, the swelling was so bad that they had to take a second one. They couldn't get a clear look at the damage. And this is, I'm leaning on colleague and friend Brian Windhorst of ESPN. I heard on his podcast yesterday, he had described it that it was a small break. I had not been told that. I'm sure Brian has that. So, I mean, that's where the lack of a medical degree hurts guys like Brian and I, but it was a pretty serious injury that I do think affected his play. I don't think it was going to turn the series, but you could tell that he played a little bit differently in the final 3 games. What about showing up with a soft cast on there, post-game, post-finals press conference? A strange move, it's even judging by the reaction that I got to the column I wrote the day after the finals, it felt like it was 2010 all over again when it comes to kind of the LeBron hate and people not reacting well to the optics and that decision that he made to put the soft cast on. Again, the way it was told to me is that he's headed to the post-game podium. His people tell him, hey, by the way, it got out. People know you punched the whiteboard. You hurt your hand, yada, yada. And so then he, at that point, makes a decision that, well, it's out. What do I care? So he puts his soft cast on. I thought not only, I don't know how that's helping him in that moment. And it just seems like a prop to, I think that's how the fans took it anyway, that a prop to make it apparent that you were dealing with something. And then when the cameramen start firing away and taking pictures of it, and he had kind of made that joke about, hey, you guys are digging this thing, aren't you? Or something along those lines. I mean, what the Warriors' reaction is going to be. What the fans who have never completely bought in on LeBron, what their reaction is going to be. I thought it was, for his purposes, just unnecessary because it ends up bringing a lot of scrutiny. How does it not happen that he goes to the Lakers? He doesn't get help. I mean, and I've been texting with people about that this morning. That's what's so interesting about these next couple of weeks is that you have the two parts of this question in terms of where he's going to go. You have market and organization, that's in one category, and then you have help. And if this was a power rankings on market and organization right now, I feel like it's the Lakers by a long shot. And that's where all the buzz is. That's where it seems that he has a really strong interest in landing there. But I guarantee you he's not going to land there if he doesn't have a roster that he looks at and says, the Warriors are going to sweep me again when I see him in the playoffs. I mean, why would you subject yourself to that and not even have the silver lining like he has in the East of still getting to the finals and having this incredible streak that he's had? So this is where all the other names come into play. What's Paul George doing? What's Chris Paul doing? Guys of that nature. He's got to get help. So I don't know what that looks like yet. Paul George has to end up there, I would think. If he doesn't get Paul George. Now what happens first, though? Because does Paul George wait for LeBron? Is LeBron waiting for Paul George? What's Chris Paul? Is he waiting to get a 5-year deal in Houston? And if he doesn't, then he's more likely to relocate back to Los Angeles? How does it dominoes fall here, Sam? So, Dan, for the last one, the Chris Paul one, I think, you're hitting the nail on the head. If Chris isn't getting 5 in Houston, he's probably not going to be a happy camper because by all accounts, the fact that the Clippers didn't put 5 on the table a year ago is what prompted the move to Houston in the first place. But that's where it gets tricky because there's folks who say, all right, but if LeBron's going to wind up in Houston with Chris, then it'll probably take some sort of pay cut on Chris's behalf, which people don't know how to reconcile that with the whole backstory. Like he didn't go there for a pay cut. Maybe it changes when it's your best friend. That's possible. We'll see. The other dominoes, and again, smoke, it's the lying season when it comes to the draft and free agency. And so we have to sift through all of this stuff. But the latest smoke on the Paul George front is a very reasonable chance that he winds up going back to OKC. And so I feel like his people, they're good enough at their jobs that they've got to already have a decent sense of what LeBron is thinking. And so I think that, if this is where Paul's head and heart is at, and if he does end up going back to OKC, then the domino starts with him, and then LeBron has to respond to that. Unless, then I guess the outlier would be if LeBron has some incredible scenario up his sleeve that he can't actually pitch to these guys until, late June, and that changes the way they look at things, then who knows what happens from there. But a whole lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I wondered if he would just stay one more year in Cleveland and figure out what's happening with the Lakers. And, I had people say that that's very unlikely. And I went, well, I mean, why not? You still have a roster that got you to the finals. Granted, Boston's going to be better. Philadelphia, a year more seasoning. What are the chances LeBron just goes, you know what? LA's it's not right. It's not what I want now.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, again, this whole thing is so compelling to me, is because I can definitely see that from a pragmatic standpoint. That would be the cautious play. You just saw in the finals, what you can accomplish with this group. And who knows if they can trade that number 8 pick for somebody, some rumblings about C.J. McCollum, somebody like that, coming to help LeBron and convince him to stay. We all know you don't love the owner, and we get that, but it's kind of like the devil being better than the one you don't. And if you don't have clarity on these other situations, you can go ahead and wait a year. The part of me that pushes back against that idea, as far as him maybe just opting in and staying one more year in Cleveland, is just the mood of the moment. I mean, having covered the finals and been around that organization and those people, it feels like it's over. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Yeah, again, once he goes home and talks to his family and they're comfortable and their kids are doing well, and we all know Bronny is coming up as a big-time basketball prospect. So, but in the moment, in the finals, and this is, even me leaning on other media members who are around that team every single day, I couldn't run into anybody who felt like, LeBron was coming back.
What about Golden State's roster next year?
Super interesting. It's all around the edges, but I mean but the edges are really important. Like, that's what they learned in this playoff run, right? So if you go back a couple years before Kevin Durant gets there, I think one thing that we forget is how just from 1 to 15 they had that roster on lockdown. The second unit was incredible defensively. Every guy seemed to fit perfectly, and then when you have a chance at a transcendent player like Kevin, you do it. And so you elevated the core to maybe an unprecedented level. But in the course of the past 2 years, they've lost grip a little bit on the others, as Shaq likes to call them. And I think that's their lesson learned from this year. Now, it's pretty nice when you're learning lessons the hard way while also holding on to the trophy like they are. But I mean, the Nick Youngs and the JaVale McGee's, and all the way down the line, like Nick Young is probably the poster boy of, he had some okay moments late, and it's fun to watch him get a chip because none of us thought he ever would. But, next year with that mid-level exception money that they're going to have again, I think the focus will be on guys who play both ends of the floor, guys who bring it more consistently. I just don't think they're going to be as loose with some of the role player acquisitions.
Great stuff, Sam. We appreciate it. Have a great summer, and we'll check in with you again.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
That's Sam Amick, USA Today NBA insider. Amick. Sam Amick, not Samick. Yes, McLovin.
The iron. He's Amish too.
Amish. He's Amish.
He's Amish. No, but if he was Sam Amick, who's Amish, oh my gosh, talk about hard to say.
But he's not Amish.
No, I don't think so.
No, he's not.
I don't think he took a horse and buggy to the finals.
I don't think so. Sam Amick, USA Today NBA insider. Yeah, Paul.
I briefly dated an Amish girl in college.
What?
I never mentioned that before, did I?
No, you did not.
She was, I wouldn't say she was hardcore, but she grew up in a very hardcore
Oh, you mean hardcore Amish?
Amish.
Okay.
She grew up
I didn't know what you meant there.
And there's some towns in southern Illinois that are Amish towns.
Book!
She's from one of them.
Coach.
The first TV she owned was her dorm room at college. Let's put it that way. She saw TV before with friends, but never owned one in her home until she was 18.
And how did she dress?
Well, pretty nice. But she wasn't.
But did she wear?
Once she got to
Amish
college,
clothes?
she kind of went on her own and did her own thing.
Oh, okay.
But her family was still pretty in depth.
Wasn't there that reality show on Growing Up Amish?
I missed it. I don't know. But I didn't know she was Amish. Like, I would have no idea. I would have thought.
Okay, when does it come up that she's Amish?
Quickly, because she told me the town she was from, and it's pretty well known in Southern Illinois. This town is predominantly
Amish.
or an Amish town. It's got some tourism. People go there to check it out.
Yes, Fritzy.
And Paulie didn't get the hint. After a while, the relationship was kind of ending. She's like, I can't. I'm churning butter right now. She kept trying to ask her back out. She kept churning the butter. That was always the excuse.
I bought a horse and buggy to really sweet talk her.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
All righty. Take a break. By the way, it's a Meat Thursday. This is a World Cup Meat Thursday. I did not know this. And Paulie said that this is the international version of Meat Friday on a Thursday.
We really went in depth with all the countries and got some of the delicacies that they're known for.
Like Saudi Arabia is playing today.
Right.
Russia's playing. Russian food is not good. What do we have back there?
Pretty much just bratwurst.
Bratwurst, and I saw potatoes.
That Saudi delicacy of barbecue potato chips.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We couldn't have beer for Germany, so we have root beer floats.
Okay. All right.
Root beer floats is great. That made my day.
I have not had a root beer float in 30 years.
You're going to have one in 7 minutes.
All right. Well, maybe even sooner. All right. We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls and final 20 minutes coming up right after this.
Here at Podcast One, we love hearing from you. We read every tweet and comment you send our way, so don't miss your chance to take our summer listener survey. Just go to podcastone.com and click on the survey banner, or go to podcastone.com/mysurvey. It only takes a few minutes, and it gives you the opportunity to make a direct impact on your favorite shows. Tell us how you really feel, so we can get to know you better. We value your thoughts and participation, so check out the survey at podcastone.com/mysurvey, or click on the survey banner on podcastone.com.
Hey, listeners, just wanted to take a minute to thank all our great sponsors and all of you great listeners for supporting this podcast. We certainly couldn't do it without either of you. And I wanted to remind you that you can support our sponsors by going to our show page at podcastone.com, clicking on the Support This Podcast button, and there you will see all our wonderful sponsors that help make this show possible. Thank you for downloading, subscribing, and of course, supporting. And now, back to the show.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
What a great day. U.S. Open's on. I got World Cup. I got bratwurst, a root beer float. And we get paid to do this. How great. How great. Brandel Chambly of the Golf Channel will join us tomorrow. Garrett Rank is he a linesman in the National Hockey League?
He's an NHL ref, but he's had a background in playing golf, and he made the cut for the U.S. Open. So he's going to join us before round 2 tomorrow during the show.
Has he teed off yet?
I don't know if he has. I have to check. But I know he's joining us towards the end of the first hour tomorrow before he tees off.
All right. That means he's probably playing, teeing off a little bit later on. I always thought that was an unfair advantage, or it's a disadvantage, where you're teeing off in the afternoon. So Tiger will tee off in the afternoon, correct? And then he has to come back in the morning. You don't get, and then if you tee off in the morning today, then you get to tee off later on tomorrow.
If only Tiger had like a fancy yacht to relax and unwind between the afternoon and the morning rounds, that would help.
There's only one road in and one road out, by the way, with the U.S. Open. I like how people go, boy, there are going to be traffic issues. Yeah, once you figure that out, there's one road in and one road out. Unless you're going by helicopter or you're going by boat. All right, get some phone calls in here. What we learned on the program, but that's the show tomorrow. NHL referee who qualified for the U.S. Open, Garrett Rank, and then Brandel Chambly of the Golf Channel will join us coming up as well. Was there anything else I left out today? I don't know. I feel like we kind of breezed through the show, and I don't know if I touched on everything I needed to touch on, McLovin. You look puzzled, as you normally do.
We hit a little Gronk. We hit a little Brian Colangelo and Markelle Fultz. We had a lot of World Cup, a lot of golf.
You had Juan Soto, the 19-year-old for the Nationals. How did the Nationals, don't you think the Nationals should be the best team in baseball? I got Scherzer, I got Harper. It feels like that roster, there's so much talent there. But they're not, what's more surprising? Like Seattle, is Seattle that good? Have you guys noticed the Seattle Mariners are actually playing well? And you got Robinson Cano, who's, been suspended. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit baffling. Dodgers playing better, but, watching the Nationals last night, and, this kid, 19-year-old, hits 2 home runs. So pretty impressive there. All right, 877-3DP show. Final results of the poll question, McLovin, that I think it really sounded good. I think it was more of one of those, hey, that'd be interesting, and then you move on from it, and then we decided that you were going to lock in on that poll question.
The problem was the Bo Jackson factor, who, if you wanted to wave a magic wand and see a guy be totally healthy, everybody wanted more Bo.
Yeah. But Bo, I think he benefited from this, almost the mystique, the mythology of Bo Jackson because of what could have been. Because we saw him as a baseball player, his ability to run, he had power, great center fielder, and then you saw him as a football player. But, his size as a football player, as a running back, that's what always stood out. You had that size and you had that speed and you had that strength. Did Bo, what was Bo's best season running? The most yards he ran for in a season?
Probably like 800.
He was never a 1,000-yard rusher?
He didn't play enough games. He never started 16 games in the season. Bo Jackson's best season, he started 9 games in his third year with the Raiders, 950 yards and 4 touchdowns. But, he averaged 6.8 yards, 4.3, 5.5, 5.6. His career average is 5.4. I think Jim Brown's is 5.2.
I think Barry Sanders and Jim Brown and Bo Jackson.
Yeah, they're the only guys above 5 who have 10,000 yards. Well, Bo Jackson doesn't have 10,000, but only a handful of guys are over 5 for their career.
Man.
5.4 for his career. He had 3 90-yard runs in 4 years.
Now, he was an all-star, and he was the MVP of the all-star game, I think.
Yes, he had a hit and a single, or a hit and a steal.
No, I thought he had a home run off Rick Russell for some reason. But I think he was MVP of an all-star game. Like, he wasn't decorated. It was just a possibility. But who actually had a better career? Deion Sanders had a better two-sport career than Bo Jackson did, didn't he? Because his football was so much better than Bo's. And Deion played in a World Series. Yeah, Fritzy.
Also, Bo had some huge highlight runs. In 87, he had a 91-yard touchdown run. In 89, a 92-yard touchdown run. And then he sprinkled in an 88-yard run in 90 in his last year.
And he was an all-star once in baseball?
Yes, once in baseball, once in football.
Okay. And Deion was never an all-star in baseball. Deion wasn't a great baseball player.
No, he never made the all-star
team. He was a serviceable baseball player.
He hit 263, a lot of steals.
Yeah. But he, Hall of Famer as a football player. But if Bo would have been able to play both, Bo would have been, the better athlete there. But Deion played a lot of baseball. I didn't realize he played that many seasons, like parts of 8, 9 seasons.
He played from 89 to 2001. He skipped a few seasons here and there.
How many hits did he have in his career? Did he have 500 hits?
558.
558?
Hit 263, solid hitter.
How many stolen bases did Deion have?
186.
186? Yeah. Who had more stolen bases, Babe Ruth or Deion Sanders?
That old question?
Yeah. I think Babe stole over 100 bases in his career. Does that sound crazy? Would you ever think that Babe would even be on, they would intentionally walk him. I'm going to do, if I did over under 125 stolen bases, Babe Ruth, I'm going over. Paulie?
123, Dan.
Oh!
The big man let you down.
Okay. Well, he got caught stealing in the World Series. End of the World Series, I think. Yes, Fritzy.
I'm seeing something that says he got caught stealing 117 times.
That's not a good percentage for the big man. Wait, he stole 123 and got caught stealing 117 times? First of all, who is sending Babe Ruth that many times? Somebody should be fired there. All right. Go around the room. What we learned on the program. Seton, I'm going to start with you. What did you learn today?
It's Amick.
It is not Amick. It's
what?
Sam Amick. But would you have it Samick or would you do Sam Amick?
Samick.
I would do Sam Amick. I would really emphasize the A. As in A+.
Blew my mind today. Amick.
I think I would spell it A+ M-I-C-K. Sam Amick. Paulie?
The Amick family pronounces their own last name wrong.
Yeah, they do. Fritzy?
Not only did astronaut Michael Collins not walk on the moon, he just kind of orbited around it.
Yeah, that was a bummer. McLevin, what did you learn today?
I have the best golfer in this draft with Matt Kuchar. We're my own guy, Rory McIlroy, plus 10.
Man. What did I learn, Fritzy?
Well, you had already heard about it, but it's worth repeating. Reports the Patriots were trying to move up in the draft to take Baker Mayfield and trade Gronk.
Yeah, crazy stuff. What we learned brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. They deliver it right to your doorstep. Try the club today. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Patrick. Thanks for the emails, tweets, phone calls, all-around support. Going to do it again tomorrow, right here on The Dan Patrick Show.
True crime fans rejoice. Small Town Murder is now on PodcastOne. Crime and Sports' James Petrogallo and Jimmy Wisman look at small towns, what makes them tick, and the murders that took place there. In-depth research, horrible tragedy, and the host's comedic spin on the whole thing. What can go wrong? Subscribe to hear new episodes every Thursday on PodcastOne.com, the PodcastOne app, and Apple Podcasts.
Now ADT can help protect your family at home and on the go. Get started with ADT's best offer, an ADT starter kit and security camera installed free. A savings of $449. Plus, you'll get ADT Go, the new family mobile safety app and service for 24/7 emergency response. Go to ADT.com/podcast today to take advantage of ADT's best offer with 36-month monitoring contract, easy pay and QSP. Early termination and activation fees apply. Additional charge for ADT Go premium services after 3/31/18. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com. Offer ends April 1st.
Four shot. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Police in Westminster, Colorado, a Denver suburb, have a person in custody after 2 adults and 2 children were shot in an office parking lot this afternoon. Investigators say they're interviewing the driver of a car seen leaving that lot at the time of the shooting. Still no word on the conditions of the shooting victims. The Justice Department's Inspector General releases a report on FBI handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Included in the findings that former FBI Director James Comey was insubordinate and departed from normal procedure, and there was no political bias involved. Director Christopher Wray says the Bureau has learned some lessons.
We're going to learn from this report, and we're going to be better and stronger as a result.
The report also found an FBI attorney was removed from the special counsel's Russia investigation for writing anti-Trump messages. That's in addition to an FBI agent who was also taken off that investigation because of his emails to another FBI attorney. I'm Tim McGuire.